Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending from which time zone you are watching us, and welcome to the first Education Focus hosted by the Network of Education Policy Centers. Education Focus is meant to be our platform for a dialogue, discussion about education trends, challenges, ideas with future-oriented perspectives. My name is Raffaella from the Network of Education Policy Centers, and I am very pleased to host today Vitalis Curtu from the Educational Center PRO DIDACTICA from the Republic of Moldova, and Roma also from the Republic of Moldova and the PRO DIDACTICA, Sanja Brajkovic from the Open Academy Step by Step, and Lana Jurko from the Network of Education Policy Centers. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. The topic of our first education focus is teaching in time of COVID, lockdown practices, and online PAIDEIA. Today we will have the chance to hear from our members from Moldova and Croatia regarding their action to support education systems in time of lockdown. So Vitaly and Sanja will present some of the activities that they did during the first lockdown last year, and those activities are part of the emergency fund that NEPC launched to support our members in supporting education systems. So last year we had 2 emergency funds, one supported also by Open Society Foundation. But before to listen to our practices from Croatia and the Republic of Moldova, Lana will have an overview from the desk research that Network of Education Policy Centers conducted in 25 countries regarding the system response to the COVID-19 crisis. This desk research is also part of the regional report of the UNESCO Global Education Monitoring Report, Inclusion and Education, all means all. So before to go to the practices, I will give floor to Lana to have this overview regarding how education responded to the COVID-19 crisis. Lana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rafael, and we're very happy to start this new practice of education focus from our network. As Rafael already said, 2020 for us was challenging on many ways. Of course, the COVID pandemic and many other things that happened in society influenced education greatly. But for us at NEPC, another big thing happened, and somehow all of you were involved in that as well. And this is the big regional report done under UNESCO Global Education Monitoring Report for our whole region. And kind of on our insistence, we added this chapter on COVID and the response from the systems during COVID pandemic. I will present you the findings of this report. Must say that this data was collected in April and May of 2020, so during the first lockdown. Since then, many things have happened. Numerous lockdowns continued in our schooling systems, and things are not yet back to normal in the sense of children being in schools and the education process going as we would hope it would. So the data that I will show you is a little bit almost outdated, although less than a year old. Unfortunately, what we have been monitoring as well has shown us that unfortunately the systems didn't move much from the first lockdown to what we have now. And one big thing that we see is that civil society organizations are actually the most active in trying to fill this gap for students and for teachers as well. So I'll go to this data, and as I said, as it's not completely updated, if there are things that have changed in countries, please disregard them. We will continue to follow this, and maybe at a different time we can also show data that is more recent. So I will share the screen now with the slide. I hope everybody can see it now. And just 1 second. Technology, here we are. So the report was done, very important to say also, together with UNESCO Global Education Monitoring Team and European Agency for Special Needs and Inclusive Education. But the COVID chapter was collected purely by NEPC and our members and partners in the 25 countries. So although the report refers to 30 countries in the region, the data on COVID is actually from 25 countries. So one of the biggest problems, I would say, in our region is this understanding of all means all. So I just wanted to show this first slide about what really is all means all. So out of 100 students, if you look at statistics, there are many different marginalized groups, and most of them have been somehow affected by COVID crisis even more deeply. Whether they were special education needs students or students from migrant background, ethnic, religious, or linguistic minorities living in remote rural areas, from low SES groups, or different vulnerabilities, those who had other problems were affected even more. And as you say, when you look at 100 students, actually, in a way, everyone is special, and that is, as we know, very true. And the inclusion, any kind of inclusive practices or policies must really refer to all of them. And this all means all is something that in the region we really need to promote and hope that the systems will respond to. During COVID, one thing that we certainly found is that governments did react, and they reacted quite quickly, let's say, to the emergency. Mostly it meant moving the learning process or the teaching process to digital or online platforms. However, it did deepen education inequalities. So despite this response, many learners were left unassisted during the lockdowns. And if you look at the data, out of the 15-year-old students in the region, 25% did not have a laptop, while 10% did not have access to internet. So already they were in this online spaces totally actually isolated from the learning process. In Czech Republic, 16% of basic school students were not involved in online learning at all. And if you look at the marginalized groups, the more vulnerable you were, the less likely you were to continue learning. So just data for, this is very patchy data and it cannot be really found easily. But the data we have, for example, for Ukraine shows that although only 1% of students did not take part in remote learning, when you look at Roma students in Ukraine, 20% of Roma students did not take part in remote learning. And then if you look at the 23 countries, support was relatively low in access to remote areas, so only 43%. School meal services were less provided than they were during the schools, only 40%. Learning materials for minorities or linguistic minorities only went to 38%, while child protection services was offered only in 25% of the countries. So you can see that there are big gaps and that this divide and the COVID has actually deepened the inequalities even further. These inequalities, of course, existed in our systems even before. In a way, the marginalized or vulnerable children were even more unequal during these times, and somehow sometimes became even more invisible because they were not in our classrooms. They were not online, and therefore we didn't see them. There were some good examples of provision which was not purely online, through radio or through television stations. However, those also, let's say, were aimed mostly for mainstream students again. We do have a nice example in Uzbekistan, where actually TV station not only provided in the both major languages the teaching, so both in Uzbek and Russian, but also with sign language interpretation. So there were some countries that took special care to try to involve more students. And then we also had countries which went to a very traditional way of of working with their students. So in Hungary and Montenegro, we actually had teachers going to the houses of the kids who could not access online teaching, leaving homework in their mailboxes and coming to collect it after some time. So sometimes even traditional ways of, let's say, by foot rather than online could support students who were not able to access. However, these are not systemic solutions. They're examples of either very active teachers who know who they have in the classroom, which is unfortunately another thing that we find. The data among schools about who their students are is very weak. It's not collected in a proper way, and therefore the support that they then needed during COVID was not available because nobody realized that there are students like this. Another thing that we definitely learned through the COVID crisis is that we need to support teachers. Of course, we knew that before, and teachers were always major stakeholders in education. I think what we've learned is that they're not only, but that they're these, lost the word, essential workers. So we have found that although some things can stop, learning must not stop, and learning did not stop. And teachers, and not only teachers in schools, but also teachers in pre-primary, were actually the most exposed and actually working throughout this crisis. Many of them could not move online. This is especially true for preschool teachers, as kindergartens continue to be open during the most of the time. So this is something that we've learned. Whether we have learned what to do about that is a different question. What we saw is that lack of professional support and insufficient digital skills among teachers were main obstacles to education continuity. And in a study in Poland, it wasn't a large study. It was about 1,000 students, teachers, but it gives you an idea. 85% were not ready for any kind of online teaching in the way of competencies to teach online, and only 52% of them reported, and even 52 reported even difficulty using the technology. So it wasn't only about didactic content and how to teach, but also the pure technology for them was a problem. And countries did organize in-service training or online consultations during this period. However, what was a problem, so they tried to provide support to teachers in the sense of how to teach remotely, how to adapt content, what kind of methodologies they could use. As they were not obligatory, it kind of left only the proactive teachers attending it and working on it. So again, those who needed it the most among the teachers actually did not get this support. And this is another big problem we found. A big conclusion from the report is that we needed innovative solutions. Teachers' networks is something that really helped teachers, this peer-to-peer support between teachers, collaboration in general between different things. And what we've also found, and this we know from our membership, is that civil society in this area were especially active. And we have several examples in the report itself about teacher networks that actually helped teachers to provide better support for their students. We also had an example in North Macedonia, again, providing support to teachers went mostly again into the mainstream. So what do the mainstream students need? Rather than what do students from vulnerable groups and marginalized group need? We have one nice example where in North Macedonia, a dedicated platform was developed for online assistance to teachers of students with special education needs. This platform also supported parents. As you all know, a lot of teaching burden actually fell on parents during this period. And for parents with students with special education needs, there was very, very little support in this. Another thing that I just want to really point out is that what we kind of did in the beginning, we believe that we don't need to change anything. We just move everything online and things will go as normal. But of course, this did not happen. We needed to adapt content, which it was not. And we also needed to give attention to the emotional well-being, socio-emotional well-being, not only of students, but also of teachers. This was very little done by the governments or by the education systems. What we also know is that this standard distance learning is really geared towards motivated and self-sufficient learners. There needs to be a lot done in that way of how to support students to be self-sufficient learners. I mean, this would be important even outside the lockdown and pandemic, but in this situation, it becomes even more important. And also, what kind of format? Do we just, do we go back to this ex cathedra teaching where a teacher is behind the screen now, so not even a proper contact with the students and just delivering content, or what other ways of doing it? The technology offers us many opportunities, but it's not only about the digital divide. So civil society has been very active in drawing this attention to student well-being. We must say that the major setback for inclusion was produced with COVID-19 pandemic, and of course we still don't know the magnitude of it. And the question is when we will know the magnitude, and unfortunately, probably in a few years. So we should really be working very strongly towards this now, so that this impact is as every student is actually affected. The good students, the students from all sets are affected. How much they're affected, we don't know. The learning has been affected. And of course, their socio-emotional well-being has been affected of both students and teachers. What we find is that especially for students from earlier ages, so pre-primary, primary, are more affected, and then students from any sort of marginalized groups even more. So what we've also found out that it's not only about the digital divide, and there is not only technology solution. And although it was, let's say, instinctive, and I would say a normal response of education systems to go to the digital solutions, and it was maybe the only solution at the time, we are very in danger of actually keeping all the reforms on this level. Let's provide everybody with technology, and then we have a solution. But of course, as educators, we know that this is not enough to only tackle neither the digital divide nor technological learning. Countries are not prepared to address the full range of pedagogical challenges for all students that online approaches to teaching and learning entail. I just want to kind of finish with that. Somehow the governments at this point of crisis are more open towards what civil society has to offer. In a sense, and also they're more open to autonomy of teachers and schools. And it is somehow up to us to try to use this space in order to support and do the best that we can. But whatever we do with COVID pandemic or other influences of education, because unfortunately we can see that this is not going to be the only crisis that the world will face, or that the world is facing. And we must not forget that without proper inclusive policies and proper inclusive paradigm in our education systems, actually the education system, as good as it is, or let's say the best, is not going to do well for the society. What I really am pleased with is that we could see among our network really a fast response, and that this emergency fund that we've managed to provide. But not only that, the NGO sector, the civil society, was really aware of the issues and able to act, therefore, more quickly. How do we pass this learning from our sector to the government is a big question for us, and one of the goals of this is to really talk about it and try to send our messages out at least. So thank you very much. I will stop sharing the screen now.
Thank you, Lana, for this brief yet comprehensive review of the results of this desk research. I can see there are a lot of topics that we might discuss, but I recognize some things that we will discuss now later with Vitaly and Sanya, like the professional development and the role of pre-primary education. So I will go straight away to Vitaly's presentation, then maybe afterwards we can discuss a little bit in detail all these topics that we have open. So Vitaly will share the design of the professional development program for teachers to face the challenges of crisis caused by COVID-19. Vitaly will make you presenter, and you can share the screen. You're already presenter. You can share the screen now.
Can you see my presentation?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Okay, now we can.
Now?
Super.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share our progress and the project Debates Club for School Teachers PAIDEIA, New Challenges in Online Learning Space. First of all, I want to mention that for more than 10 years, the Educational Center have advanced experiences for teacher debates and for promotion of good practices through experience sharing within Debate Club PAIDEIA. During this period, many teachers and managers became active members of this club and benefits from training sessions. But because of COVID pandemic, the educational system, of course, faced a serious challenge, and the educational community, the teacher community, was not enough prepared to switch to online learning and teaching process. So that's why we designed to that's why we designed this project in order to help teachers and managers to improve support their professional and personal development, especially digital skills, functional literacy skills, emotional management abilities, and authors abilities by online debates and teacher training within PAIDEIA Educational Debate Club. So we planned to achieve some specific objectives within this project. First of all, to conduct a need assessment study in order to identify the priority topics of interest for teachers and managers. Another objective is to elaborate 9 original topics for professional development of teachers and managers, to organize and moderate 18 meetings with participation of more than 500 schools, teachers, and managers, 9 meetings in online format, and 9 meetings in face-to-face format. Also to elaborate interactive videos on different online tools and platform that will help the teachers and their didactic process, and one video on the experience of teachers participants at the debate club. And the last main objective of the project is to publish a book with subject discussed on the within the PAIDEIA club. The book that will be offered as a donation to the teachers and the managers from different educational institutions. So the target group of the project are the 500 school teachers and managers from all the country that are involved in the project activity directly and indirectly. And we expect that this project will contribute to the professional and personal growth of the teachers and managers. And also, we hope that teachers will promote and will incorporate online educational tools within the teaching, learning, assessment process, and also will promote the good practices at the institutional, local, and also national level. So first of all, we conducted a need assessment study by online questionnaire with participation of 18 teachers from different regions of the country. And the needs assessment study was conducted in order to identify what characterizes online learning in the vision of teachers, to what extent does they feel prepared for the efficient online learning, what are the challenges or difficulties they face in the distance learning process, what basic skills and competencies that the teachers should possess in context of online learning, what are the online tools that teachers use in their daily practice, and the online tools that they would like to learn in order to carry out efficient online learning. And the last question, what are the topics of interest for teachers and the managers that they are interested to. So in the vision of the teachers, online learning and teaching process is associated mostly with digital skills, digital technologies, of course, online platform, tools and application, time for preparation, trainings, accessibility. Online learning is a real challenge and needs a lot of motivation. Most of the teachers appreciate the level of preparation to conduct an efficient online learning at the intermediate level, 70%, and 22% of them appreciate the level of preparation at high level competence. Also, among the challenges the teachers face in the distance learning process, of course, on the first place are the technical problems, technical issues, computer equipment, internet connection and speed, technical faults. On the second place are the problem of motivation. That's the lack of interest from the students and the motivation of teachers impossibility to involve all students because of the lack of feedback, lack of direct interaction, direct contact, and of course, insufficient developed digital skills of teachers and students. Regarding with reference to basic skills and competences, teachers mentioned that digital skills, including knowledge of platform, software, creation of digital resources, are must have. Of course, on the second place are the communication and collaboration skills, and another competences that they need to achieve is time management, resource management, content planning, designing step of the didactical process. And of course, flexibility, including adaptation to change, receptivity, creativity. Among the tools that teachers use mostly in their activity, on the first places are Zoom, Google Classroom, Google Meet, learning apps, Boardwall, Kahoot, and others. At the same time, the teachers say that they would like to learn more about online assessment tools. Also, Google Classroom, Google Meet, G Suite, Padlet, Genially, Wakelet, and other online platform and tools. Regarding to the question of the topic of interest for teachers and the managers, the teachers mentioned that online learning, online communication, security online space is the first topic. Functional literacy, online assessment, problem of motivation of students and teachers, emotional management, that means well-being, emotional health, burnout prevention, interactive teaching and learning techniques, online reading, discussion, distance reading workshops, educational partnership, education for integrity, transdisciplinary approach, STEAM education, and others. So this results of needs assessment study were discussed within the conference for the launching of the project, which took place on 9th October. And according to the result of the needs assessment study and discussion of the conferences, nine topics of 9 subjects were developed, and 9 online meetings of debate club were organized. So on this slide, we can see the subject of online meetings. Online assessment, methods, techniques, and tools with discussion of advantages and disadvantages of online assessment, tools and methods for online assessment, education for integrity with discussion on anti-corruption strategies applied in education, the culture of integrity in schools, the code of ethics of teachers, the code of ethics of students, burnout syndrome, prevention and intervention techniques with discussion on internal and external causes of burnout, burnout management, strategies and tools for intervention, functional literacy with discussion on general literacy, digital literacy, emergency literacy, communication literacy, problem-solving literacy, legal literacy, etc. Transdisciplinary approach to terminology with discussion on interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary approach, in the process of teaching different subjects. Intellectual processes view it transdisciplinary. Another meeting was interactive elements in online teaching, with discussion on advantages and disadvantages of distance learning, recommendation for efficient distance learning, interactive tools for online learning like Linoid, EduGlosters, Prezi, Flipnut, Canva, Edpuzzle, Padlet, Tricider. Educational partnership with a discussion on the principles of educational partnership, competences necessary to develop an educational partnership, good practices of educational partnership, motivating students and teachers, challenges and solutions, with discussion on theoretical and practical aspects of motivation on teachers and students and distance learning. And the last meeting, emotional management from an educational perspective, with discussion on the role of emotions and control and emotional control and management. So during the PAIDEIA online meeting, 9 press releases and the news were published and distributed on Facebook page and on the PRO DIDACTICA website. Each news was accessed by around 1,700 visitors. Also, in order to promote the project results, we created a web page dedicated to PAIDEIA Club, which hosts the recorded online meeting and also didactic materials elaborated by trainers involved in the project. These all materials are open educational resources and can be freely accessed without restriction by teachers and by managers. And also, on the dimension of promotion, we 2 articles seen by 2 trainers of debate club, interactive elements in online teaching and the concept of terminology as an inter and transdisciplinary entity, were published in Didactica Pro magazine, which is the press organ of the PRO DIDACTICA. So, what's the impact of we observed during the online meetings within the PAIDEIA Debate Club? First of all, relaunching the debates club PAIDEIA in online format increase the interest of teachers and managers from different institutions of the country, and also increase the chance for more teachers to benefit from training in the online environment. During the online meetings, the teachers gain knowledge, tools, methods to address the issues of everyday didactical and practical activities. Also observe that teachers achieve digital skills, functional literacy skills, emotional management abilities, covering the different dimensions of professional and personal development. And we observe that teachers use and incorporate, implement online educational tools within the teaching, learning, assessment process. And also they promote learned lessons and share educational practices with colleagues in the educational institutions where they work. What we are doing now, unfortunately, due to the pandemic situation, and the PAIDEIA Club meetings continue in online format. despite we planned started to conduct 9 online meetings and 9 face-to-face meetings. But due to pandemic situation, we continue in online format with other groups of teachers. Also, we plan in April and May to elaborate 3-4 videos, interactive videos on different online tools for teaching and learning process. And we are working on editing and publishing the book with subject discussed within the PAIDEIA Club. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you too, Vitaly, and congratulations for this very holistic program in which you really managed to involve a lot of topics and to provide quick support actually to education systems. This was very inspiring, and of course I know that PRO Didactica is also very active in promoting and disseminate everything that you do. So really my congratulations. We will come back with some other questions later, but now I would like to give the floor to Sanja Brajkovic that will present the magazine Child, Kindergarten and Family that was part of the emergency fund Bridge the Gap. Sanja, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rafaela. Hopefully you hear me. So my name is Sanja Brajkovic. I'm director of Open Academy Step by Step, and I'm going to talk about one of our activity, how we supported the professionalism of early childhood educators during the COVID-19, actually during the first lockdown and the only one in Croatia, because after April we actually didn't have the real lockdown here in Croatia. Thank you, Vitaly. You show us a very comprehensive approach to this situation. I will show the one emergency activity what we did in our organization. So just a little bit about Open Academy Step by Step. Since Open Academy Step by Step, I think, is a rather new member of NEPC. And also, in one part, we are pretty much different to other organizations, since we are actually a network of experts who are supporting not just professionals and educators in primary schools, but also in kindergartens, in early childhood and kindergartens. And our vision is to make and to build child-friendly society. So what we are doing actually, we are promoting, introducing, advocating, and supporting innovative and quality practices in education, and as well as other practices who are needed to ensure the well-being and development and learning of children from 0 to 10 or even older. So a little bit about the context of COVID-19 in Croatia. I think this is the same from the whole Europe and all our members, is that at March 13 we entered in lockdown, and at that day actually the government of Republic of Croatia passed the decision that that secondary primary schools and kindergartens as well will be closed in the future for a while. But even in that situation, I have to say that in almost in all kindergartens, parents could actually could come with their children if they didn't have another opportunity. Then in April 23rd, kindergarten were open for certain groups of children, mostly for those children whose parents were working. And I would like to say here that in that decision and also in later decisions, we can we can clearly see that maybe all the decision which was made in education was governed by economical purposes, because when we are talking about decisions, will school and preschool be open or should they stay closed, we actually primarily talking about economical reasons. From May 25th on, kindergartens were open for all children, and they started their work regularly. And also then on September, our Ministry of Science and Education, they published the recommendations, models and recommendations for working conditions which are associated with COVID-19 diseases. And here should be said that from May till now, kindergartens are completely open for all children, and we do not have a lockdown at all in Croatia, at least in early childhood and preschool. At the same time, what happened in EU? European Council stated that member states should share information, experiences, practices, and keep exchanging about the ways in which education and training can adapt to this situation, and also that we should be focused on guaranteeing the equality of opportunities, stimulating the well-being of children, students, and professionals, and providing psychological support. And maybe this was the goal of our action, which we did in April, and I will describe what we did. So what we felt in the April, immediately after the lockdown, maybe even in March, in those two last weeks of March, that there is a need for exchange of the practice. There is a need for rethink what is the profession of early childhood educators, because what is the difference with teachers who are working in primary school and secondary school? For them, it was obviously that they should go on with education. For early childhood and preschool educators, it was not obviously what is actually their task, and also what is actually how they will going on with their job, and what is the professionalism now for them in this situation when actually there is no children in the kindergartens. Children are with their parents at home, and what they should do and how they can support the parents and the children as well. At the same time, I should say that Open Academy, step by step, for 25 years now, we are printing our magazine Child Kindergarten Family, and just today the last issue is printed, and this issue is about our 25th anniversary of the magazine, and it is a magazine which is subscribed by more than 400 subscribers, about 450, and it is printed in 600 copies, and mostly is subscribed by the kindergartens and not by the individuals. Few of them is by individuals, but mostly of kindergartens. It is issued 4 times a year, and also all of those issues have some main topic of each issue. Like, I don't know, here you can see social emotional learning, art curriculum for early childhood, then documentation and assessment and planning for children development, what is kindergarten in the local community, and so on. So in this magazine, we saw the opportunity to help educators and to make them, to give them a floor to exchange their practices and also to exchange their thoughts and to build some kind of new understanding of what kind of professionalism we would like to see in our future future practice. What we did is that in April 2020, we issued a special issue of magazine, Child, Kindergarten, Family, which was published online and of course completely free on 50 pages. I should say that regular magazine has 32 pages, and this one was on 50 pages, and 21 articles was published. Maybe if for you it will be interesting that the idea arise on one Friday, and we contacted all of authors during the weekend, and on Monday we already had all articles for this magazine. So we could say that maybe in 1 week we actually like designed the magazine and we already put it online. It was visible that all authors are not talking about the, how to say, just about the knowledge, what they know and about what they are sure, but also about the way how they are rethinking their practices. I would like to say that what our maybe what our goals was is to give a message to practitioners first that they are not alone, to give them some kind of an emotional support, because it was visible, and we know for another kind of traumatic situations that people who are in those kind of situations, even if all of us are in the same situation, we always think we are alone and nobody feels like I do. So this was the opportunity for educators to see that they are not alone, that actually others are struggling with the same issues as well in their practices. Also to give them pedagogical support to exchange the very practical ideas how they can going on to work with families and children, and to support what I already said, their professionalism in early childhood and care practice, and to reflect on new situation. What was visible, and I think still it is that we do not have answers on this question, this situation, and actually that for 1 year now, I think we are in one very long-lasting learning situation. So just few examples of articles. For example, this article, which was written by one psychologist who is working in kindergarten, is talking. She's talking about her reflection. What is the role of the parents during the lockdown, and should parents be end teachers or not? Since the most of the kindergartens start to send some let's say ideas for activities what can be done in home of children with their parents, and it was a question: should then parents be teachers as well, or they should stay as parents? Also, she's talking about the importance of emotional support for parents during this period of lockdown. Also, on this in this article, it was written by one special educator who is working also in kindergarten. She was writing about online support for children with special needs and their parents. Since we know now, and also for some other researches which are now available, that maybe, not maybe, but for sure the most vulnerable group in this situation are children with special needs, because very often they stay outside of kindergarten, even we do not have a lockdown anymore, since parents are afraid that maybe they will be, they are very often they are the part of this group of children, and that they will be infected in kindergarten. So here she is suggesting how to support parents, not just children, but also parents emotionally, and how to give support parents to motivate them for some activities with children, and how actually parents can monitor the development of their children, which is very important. Also, in this article, this is Eda, who is working. She is a preschool teacher. She is working in one kindergarten in Rijeka. She's talking about how to support parents and their role in the assessment of childhood development, because lots of educators from early childhood were very afraid that actually we will not follow what's going on with the children and their in development, and that maybe we should give parents some inputs how they can do it by themselves in their home environment. This is very nice article about how you can do virtual art afternoon with circle meeting with the children from preschool, and how actually you can go on with some routines which are usual in kindergarten. And also here one kindergarten teacher who is also coordinating, who is also a coordinator of one non-formal place for children, and it is actually a child hub and toy library in her local community. And what she did is actually that she opened a YouTube channel, and then she put there some very short videos about what you can do with your children, and those videos they are just 3-minute videos, and it is always some nice idea there what you can do with your child. This is article about how you can watch some theater plays with children at homes, and how you can talk with them about that, and also about exercise at home, especially for children from 0 to 3, because you know that children from 0 to 3 are very active, and it was very hard for their parents to stay alone with them at home during the lockdown. But here this educator is talking about how you can play and exercise with your child at home, and that child is just maybe 3 years old. And this is all about this magazine, and maybe you will have some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanja, for this creative, innovative, and very quick Friday idea. I really enjoyed a lot of that. And yes, we come back to what Lana said at the beginning, that we did realize, or we kind of are more aware that kindergarten educational staff in general are actually essential worker. Both PRO Didactica and Step by Step are very active in providing professional development for educational staff. How do you see that this will change in the future? Do you see that there are some new topics due to this crisis, or some old new topics, or do you see any opportunities? Lana said in the crisis we should look at the opportunities behind the crisis. So how do you see that the professional development will change in the future for educational staff? This is both a question for Sanja and PRO Didactica colleagues. Sanja, your mic is on, maybe you can directly.
Yeah, it is very hard question, I should say. So I think this gives us a lot of opportunity to see that maybe, you can also get some ideas and some informations very quickly, but also it shows us what are the disadvantages of our systems. And I think that this was even more visible now in this situation than it was previously. What I'm afraid of, that maybe in this situation in which all educators for sure are under great stress, and we should take this account in our activities, is that while you are working on yourself, and your stress, is that maybe we will not see those who are vulnerable, and I mean about children in this situation, because all of us are very, how to say, very happy that we succeed, for example, to work online, to go online, to have activities, that schools go on, that kindergarten is go on. But actually we are not, we are not monitoring enough, I think. We are not doing researches enough, and actually we don't know who stayed back, back. And I think that maybe in this situation again we do not see vulnerable groups, and that this will be the new topic, topic again, something like this.
Yeah, there is a risk that new vulnerable groups may be, that we have new vulnerable groups that we are not aware of. Yeah, that's a very interesting and good point. Rima, I can see your mic on.
First of all, dear colleagues from NEPC, thank you very much for this opportunity. For us, was very important to have this quick response to COVID pandemic, and your support was very valuable. And even we started the project a little bit later in September, but unfortunately this crisis is go on, and we are very happy now that we can provide this support to all teachers. Regarding to lessons learned and what will be the changes or the opportunities, first of all, yes, of course, we have some lessons learned, and but as opportunities, I think that for the next periods and next years, online learning, distance learning will have a special place. I mean that we, in professional development of teachers, we will include both these formats, online and offline, because of course there are some advantage of online learning, but of course in a blended way. I mean, in a mixed way, offline plus online. Other aspect is regarding to digital skills. We talk a lot about digital skills and how important it is and how to design these training courses. But now, because of this crisis, we had to learn and to implement this kind of activities, and of course we have very good experience, but in the same times lessons learned, as I already said. And one other point, from my point of view, this crisis show us how important to have teacher leaders at school level, because when this crisis come at school level, when there are people with proactive people with very well developed digital skills and with vision, they could support their teachers, and they pass this crisis in a easy way. And the main challenge regarding to this online learning and this I think that this is quality assurance, and now for us is a challenge even at professional development activities level. And that's all. Thank you. Maybe my colleagues had some.
Yeah, thank you, Rima. Yeah, I can see Viorica has the mic on. Go
Yes,
ahead, Viorica.
thank you. I want just to add one idea about the challenge. As a university professor, I can say about miscooperation among universities and schools. Even a lot of school teachers need support, need the assistance in IT domain, but school managers and schools in general are not open, and they insisted that all lesson to be taught by teachers. We insisted a lot to involve our students by their IT skills and to support, to teach in peer, to teach with with the teachers with the experiences in the field. But in our country, we didn't yet manage to solve this problem, and we don't have enough teachers in our school. We don't have. It's a very long and difficult process for adaptation by young teachers. Teachers' profession is not attractive for young teachers, but at official level we don't have a mechanism how to promote, because all teachers are very important for us, because without them our school cannot work. But in the same time also the involving of young teachers, and we should find a way to cooperate and to join these efforts in the field. Thank you.
Thank you, Viorica, for the topic of cooperation. It seems that cooperation is something that we have been discussed for ages, but not enough. I want to come back also to Lana, because in the analysis that network did about the 25 countries, for sure you recognized a lot of best practices from the government or the civil society. Can you just briefly share which are the main features of these best practices for supporting vulnerable groups?
Yes, I mean, cooperation is, a word that everybody uses. I'm not sure that everybody understands what actually cooperation means. There seems to be always much more competition between different institutions than actual cooperation. What we found in several countries is that the cooperation at ministerial level between social services provision and ministries of education was key. I think we have several examples. One is in Bulgaria, where actually the education system provided or the social services ministries, whatever they're called, ministries of social work or whatever they're called, actually provided support to low SES families in the sense of actually providing meals at home for those kids who are not in school, and activities like that. Cooperation at all levels was missing. One of the things that we see, and we continue to come back to this, how is academic world connected to school? When they do research, do they do research for the sake of research or in order to support the system? There is lack of this translation of scientific data to something that could be relevant for teachers and for us working with educators. This is one of the key messages of the report, is that this cooperation needs to happen at all levels. How to do it is a big question. I think our role as civil society organization here is crucial. We need to really be open to different types of cooperation. We shouldn't close ourselves in our little worlds and in our little bubbles of where things are different. We need to go out to those teachers that are not coming to us somehow, and some of the ways that you have shown are the ways. I think that this intersectoral cooperation is actually the biggest key. We need to connect health, social services, and education much more. Without that, we cannot do much. We have a problem of jurisdiction, let's call it, of who is involved in which students, and many times the schools are not aware of social services working with children from their schools. So this sharing of data, expertise, resources is key. We have segmented it, we are keeping it apart, and actually we are in the end fighting for the resources instead of using all our resources to support the vulnerable children. Yeah, for now we have a few examples, but not systemic at all, unfortunately. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Lana. Yeah, cooperation is very much connected to how we collect the data, how we use that, how we analyze that. Yeah. Okay, do you have maybe any comments or questions among each other? No. Okay. So thank you very much to all to being part of the first Education Focus. If you have any any comments or questions for us, you can contact at the email address that will appear on the closing screen. Thank you everybody for joining and see you at the next Education Focus. Bye.
Thank you for opportunity.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.